Hello everyone, you are watching a snippet of the January 9th, 2023 countdown program. Today is Monday, see the full version on Patreon, and thanks to everyone who is becoming our patrons right now. The day before, Medvedev woke up and again growled at the entire sobering up station, threatening to find and liquidate the traitors of the motherland abroad. According to the ex-plowman of the cattle depot, with those who left Russia and wish her death, one must act according to the law, but one should not forget about the rules of war. And he clarified that in times of war there were always special rules and quiet groups of impeccably inconspicuous people who effectively executed them. In fact, the fascist mafia promises to flood Europe and other countries with certain groups of killers, once again confirming that Russia is a terrorist country and should be eliminated precisely as a state entity, along with its gulag system. In the meantime, experts note with satisfaction the failure of the Kremlin's plans to use energy resources as a weapon in order to put pressure on the European political system. Despite the gloating forecasts of the same stubborn Medvedev that the price of gas will rise to $5,000 per 1,000 cubic meters, nothing of the kind happened. The EU countries have avoided critical economic problems due to the energy crisis due to warm weather, expanding the range of suppliers, efforts to reduce demand, as well as the outbreak of coronavirus in China, which reduced competition in the LNG market. Among other things, the Kremlin pushed the West to urgently develop the renewable energy segment, and Ukraine is pushing the Kremlin to resume mobilization activities, inflicting pinpoint strikes on concentrations of fascists. The armed forces of Ukraine not only hurt the Chmobs and their commanders, but also cause a second wave of mobilization, which, in turn, can cause unrest in the depths of the fascist sewer. The myth about the effectiveness of the prisoners Wagner was dispelled under Bakhmut. Prigozhin no longer knows what else to lie, but his growing influence is increasingly irritating the elites. In addition, our autumn forecast that only those who have a personal army will get a chance to survive is starting to reach Putin's bosses. Shoigu has already created his own PMC called Patriot, and Timchenko is actively developing his own PMC Redoubt. And the more clearly the prospect of inevitable defeat appears on the horizon, the more private military companies will appear on the territory of an aggressive cave. Regional godfathers also want to live, and the picture of a lonely Putin, bored in the Church of the Annunciation for Christmas, evokes not so much melancholy as anxiety. As it was said, the West will give Ukraine as many weapons as it needs for the victorious return of its territories. Need tanks? There will be tanks. We need long-range MLRS systems. There will be systems, and it is unlikely that the production of drones in Tolyatti will turn the tide of the war. In addition, according to the scenarios of the Ministry of Finance, oil and gas revenues will amount to 6.8 trillion rubles, which is more than 2 trillion rubles. Less than expected, and the war requires a lot of money. Therefore, they will take from the business, the one that still remains. The General Staff of the Ministry of Defense is racking their brains. In which direction exactly should the offensive of the armed forces of Ukraine be expected? All gaps in the fronts will be patched with freshly summoned meat. Under the beard of Santa Claus, he hid as a military commissar in order to get out of the image immediately after Christmas and drag the frightened depth hunter from the salad to the front. Military registration and enlistment offices, of course, also burn, but what are 57 arson attempts across the country? Today, in Bratsk, a military registration and enlistment office was set on fire at night. Not a single soldier was injured, the roof of the building was damaged and there is no lighting. The arsonist climbed over a metal fence and disappeared after the presentation of the fire show. But such attacks will not disrupt the mobilization. So it's time for the mice to wake up, urgently eat up everything that is not sour, and mentally prepare for their own commemoration. Schmobuks live badly, but not for long.
Video for posterity. This is how people go to war. The bread was all folded, everything flew off. This is such a toilet. This is the kitchen, you need to cook on it, but this is a barrel of water. Here, a bunch of junk, in short, which is not clear where to put it. And the stove is not worth it. And soon to go, in a couple of hours. Cold and dark. No light, nothing. So, in short, guys,
become our patrons now and see further in our program. Unpleasant New Year's discoveries were made for themselves by females. Nothing. They just went out for a walk to the local Christmas tree, and they were surrounded by police officers and rode into a paddy wagon. Fascism crept up unnoticed. Cave of terrorists today hit the Kharkiv region with rockets. It is reported that at least 7 people, including a 13-year-old girl, were injured as a result of a rocket attack in the urban-type settlement of Shevchenkovo. A 60-year-old woman died. Brazil cosplayed the events in the US 2 years ago. In the capital of Brazil, supporters of ex-President Bolsonaro broke into the presidential palace and the Congress building. More than 400 people have been arrested. The governor of the Brazilian capital has been removed from office by a court. Fragments from the New Year's explosion in Makivka flew to the Kremlin offices, forcing the system to speed up in terms of making personnel decisions. Clishes yells at Medvedev, and Governor Starovoyt crawls through the trenches, creating an unpleasant precedent for the elite. The structure starts to wobble. See the author's analytics Sotnik-TV. And the last one for today, the Atlantic Council, NATO's think tank, has predicted the collapse of Russia within the next 10 years. According to 46% of experts out of 167 respondents, Russia is expected to fragment or become a failed state in the coming years. The collapse of the empire or disintegration into many smaller countries may take place by 2033. 40% of respondents called the reason for the possible collapse of Russia revolution, civil war or political disintegration. And that is all. See the full version of the program on the Patreon resource. And thanks to everyone who is becoming our patrons right now. Hugs to everyone. See you on Thursday. Glory to Ukraine.